Welcome everyone to the second episode of Getting to Know Our members of Founders Toastmasters. And today we are very happy. We have Choy Yu Chan, a lady who's born in the Netherlands with Chinese roots, and she's worked in the Netherlands as a lawyer but left in 2006 to Shanghai for adventure. There she joined a law firm which specializes in advising non-Chinese companies with their business in China. Now, after 10 years, she moved to Hong Kong to expand their services here. Choy also started a podcast during the pandemic last year, and her podcast is to share, connect, and inspire her listeners with interviews with amazing people she have crossed paths with. But today, I will be doing the podcast and interviewing her. So with that short introduction, let's get on with the show. So hi, Choy. Thank you for being with us on the show today. This is part of our series. We want to get to know you better. So we have a couple of questions prepared for you, and I hope that we'll enjoy the show. Is that okay?
Hi, Coen. Yes, very excited for this one. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So let's start with the first question. Now, we know from your introduction that you grew up in a Chinese family in the Netherlands. To the listeners here, especially people in Asia, how was it like as compared to, how families are like in Asia, in Hong Kong, in mainland China?
Yeah, it's mostly very confusing because when you grow up, you really don't know what is the normal culture. And it's really a big difference, Chinese or Western culture. So the first 10 years, I was just trying to figure out who was more crazy, the society or my parents. And then you figure out kind of your own truth, and you get to know other people in the same circumstances, because I grew up in a village. So it's a little bit different when you're in a big city where there are other Chinese families as well. So it was a bit confusing.
Right. I suppose, like you say, a child when he or she grows up, is trying to make sense of the world. And, through that lens, you shape your life, basically. I see that in my children as well right now, how they are growing up. So thank you for that. Yes, crazy, confusing. That's the conclusion for that question. Second question. Now, recently, I think you shared, or was it I shared a CNBC article that Dutch children are one of the happiest in the world.
Yeah.
There will be the link in the video below.
Yeah.
Now, in particular, there are two things from the article that caught my eye, and they are non-competitive schooling, which focus on developing a passion for learning. Wow. And assertive parenting style. Now let's talk about the first one, the non-competitive schooling. Can you tell us what non-competition in Dutch schools are? How is it like for school children there? I think because I grew up in Asia, I think most parents here in Asia cannot understand, cannot fathom how school can be non-competitive, because here all we focus on is the grades, what marks you are, which number are you in the class, so perhaps you can share with us.
Yeah, when I grew up, it's indeed, there was no competition at all at school. That's really true. I think that nowadays it's a little bit, there's a gap always between Western and Asian view on education of kids. The gap is getting smaller because your competition is with the rest of the world, while when we were growing up, it wasn't the case. But however, I think it's still relevant that kids in the Netherlands are the most happy. That I hear that often, and I also see that indeed. The schools indeed are not, there's no, first of all, there's no distinction between public and private schools. So everyone goes to a public school, which already makes it different. But what is relevant is you're going to the school of your neighborhood. So if you are, growing up in a not so fancy neighborhood, your school classmates are a little bit different. So they try to mix it. So the municipality will try to mix it. So as parents, you just choose 1 to 10 of your preference in your neighborhood. Yeah, and in the classroom itself, there's never, gets ranked 1 to 3. That never happens. That is always, you get scores for what you do at school, but there's no ranking. And of course, among yourself, which student is better than the other one. But everything is stimulated. So there's also a lot of other activities other than the classic, language and mathematics and geography and history. And what I can see in my circle of friends is also that people who are not stimulated at home, do not have a background where parents are very highly educated, or there's a lot of financial resources, that they also can become doctors and lawyers. So in that respect, it's really a democracy.
So I see, from what I sense from your reply is that, the system just tells you where you are, how good you are. You don't, not necessarily like, the ranking in the class, oh, I'm better than you or not. But it's like almost a reflection, a report to myself that, oh, I'm good in better in this, I'm better in that. So maybe I could explore more in, say, mathematics or language or something. So it's really for me. And there's no expectations for you to compare with other kids. I think that's very good. Interesting.
Yeah, more focus on the content than on your results, I would say. Yeah. Which education should be about, right?
Yeah, we should be. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the second point, which is about parenting. Now, I was really surprised to learn that parents in the West, or in this case, Holland, can be assertive as well. Now, we know that in Asia, wow, the parents are very assertive, in fact, very controlling. You cannot do this, you cannot do that, you should do this, you should do that. Even you should marry this person. So how is this assertiveness in Dutch parents different from the Asian or Chinese way of assertiveness?
Yeah, my interpretation of assertiveness with the Dutch parents is completely different than how we understand it in Asia. So when I read that article, it doesn't come in mind that it is the same thing. I think assertiveness with Dutch parents means that, yeah, things are just nonsense. So you don't bother your kid with it. You don't parent your kid with nonsense things. And yeah, it's very free, and there's much more an equal relationship between parent and kid. And that's also very interesting to see how my parents were reacting to it. My parents could not get used how Dutch kids are, because we had a restaurant at home, grew up in a restaurant. So we would see families coming for dinner and see how they would behave to each other. And then, dad would come to the cashier to pay. And then his son would come and slap his father on the shoulder, put his arm down there. And that was really my mother's reaction was like, wow, yeah, they're like friends, and she could really not accept it. But that's really symbolic how, and even, who pays for the dinner, if the grandparents are inviting the kids and the grandkids, it's because the grandparents are going to pay for that dinner. I think, you're right. In Asian culture, it's the other way around. But the result is that everyone is very happy, to go for this free dinner, which is arranged by the grandparents, and the grandparents are happy to see the family. So there's a lot also of misunderstanding between cultures, and Chinese culture will think that Dutch culture is very harsh. Like a common thing is also like, oh, when you're 18, your parents will kick you out of the house.
Yeah, I got that.
Yeah, I heard that many times that people understand that if I say that, yeah, that's the case. But the thing is, they love to be on their own feet. It is really great, and especially when you have educated parents who went to university themselves and who have financial resources, they will buy the apartment, and you don't have this financial headache. You can ask your friend to live with you, and the rent will go to your parents. I mean, it's not like that they necessarily want to spoil the kid. It's more like a practical. And looking back myself, I also really enjoyed being on my own feet when I was 19, and it should be like this. And it's not that they're kicked out. Absolutely not. Yeah, they have a great relationship. They will come and visit their parents. Only it's just more relaxed and more independent. And this independence is really very stimulated.
Right. So to conclude this question, to summarize on assertiveness, and also one idea that you talked about is that I feel that assertiveness is not as much like control, but in the West, you set boundaries, you set clear boundaries. And if the child crosses the boundary and, the parents speak to the child and say, hey, we agreed on this, we decided on this. So why are you stepping across, right? There must be certain boundaries, just like laws. You know about laws, some people
but
cross
boundaries more as equals, I think. And assertiveness, in my interpretation, is more
you
that
listen
as
to
a parent,
me, right?
you choose
exactly.
to be equal, indeed. There's no, it's just more, just more clear relations, I would say, indeed.
Right. So the way I see it is that the kid understands certain I don't know, I use the word boundary, issues, laws, whatever, right? That they have to accept that if they cross it, there are certain consequences. Of course,
but isn't
just
that
like
in any culture?
yes,
In any
because of laws.
parenting style.
But I feel that maybe Asian will be more like, you listen to me. You listen, like what you say is like as equals and versus not equals. Parents, Asian parents will be like, okay, you listen to me, or whatever I say is right. I'm your father, I'm your mother, you listen to me. Versus, perhaps in the Dutch way is that, okay, this is wrong. So the parent tells like, this is wrong, or maybe it could be a moral concept or something, that if you cross this boundary, something may happen and you have to accept the consequences, good or bad. And then the child needs to make decisions. Versus here, in most Asian countries, the political systems is also as such. You listen to me. It's a very paternalistic way of governance.
Very.
Right? Because I'm government. I'm the boss. You listen to me.
Yeah,
right?
The government is totally, in my view, like parenting. Yeah.
So it's like that's we are a little bit dragging, but I recently read an article of how Elon Musk runs his company. He hires the best people in the world, and these best people in the world wants to work for him because he gives them the latitude to really explore. And if there's failures, right, Elon Musk is the first person to say it's his fault, because he makes mistakes too, right? And he tells publicly his employees, anyone can come and talk to me, and if I make a mistake, tell me in my face, it's okay. So versus maybe the controlling, the more paternalistic would be like, you don't tell me what I'm wrong, So things like that. Okay, thank you for that. That's assertiveness. You also brought about one point in this question, which is independence. So the first concept when, in the West, kids get kicked out of house at 18, I was like, what? When I went to England to study, I was in London. I was like, but I look at my classmates, they're very, very happy. Oh, freedom. But I think it's not really so much the freedom, in the sense that if you have grown up for 18 years of your life, knowing how to think for yourself, to take responsibility of yourself, the next step to move and, be alone and go through your university yourself, take care of yourself, study yourself, has tremendous value than to to stay at home and be cared for or protected by the parents. Now, I want to give a separate point of view from the Asian parents' viewpoint, is that it's not that they want to keep their kids at home. Like, for example, many Asian kids, when they are not married, they are considered children, and therefore they are happy to stay with their parents until they are 40, 50 years old. Or if they get married.
Is that really true?
Yeah.
They're happy to stay with their parents.
Yeah, or maybe financially, if they could move out, they will. Like nowadays, more young people. But there's still a tendency to, the parents would love to have their kids around them, perhaps for companionship. So there's this view that I think I would like our listeners to know, that perhaps it's just slightly different, and it's really maybe down to financials. If you can afford it, you move it out yourself. And if the parents can help the child when the child is younger, for example, 18 years old, fine, buy a house or rent a house, pay the rent. But the thing is, you live your life, I live my life, but we could meet. And therefore, like you explained in the grandparent sense, I think the grandparents, as we get older, we will love to see our kids and our grandchildren in the future. Right. Thank you. Thank you very, very much for that perspective. Now let's move on to the next question. Now we know that you are a lawyer, you're law trained, and now you work as a consultant for helping businesses navigate the business and legal environment in mainland China. Now, could you share with us, our members who are aspiring entrepreneurs here, what is the number one thing to be aware of, or the number one thing to do if they wish to start a business in China?
Yeah, I think you have to understand that if you're going to start business in China, that you're dealing with a completely different culture. It's quite a cliche, but yeah, it is. It has an effect on every aspect of the business, in how the services or the products that you're going to sell, how you're going to cooperate with the parties that you have a business relationship with, your staff, your marketing, and of course, the legal context of it. And yeah, the cliche case that we have been dealing with in the past 20 years is always a bit the same, comes down to the same, a little bit of different variations, but that's trying to control a business remotely and putting someone in control, thinking that you can trust that person, but not really having the right mechanism to get the right feedback or to have the right corporate governance. And yeah, Chinese people are, the society is in a different state. So they grab every opportunity to become successful. And yeah, and it makes that people will see their role change over time. And I think that Western people think that if they employ someone for that role, it will always stay in that way. But things change in China, and that I think Western companies are underestimating, and that creates problems. And with this Chinese key employee taking opportunity in a way that is not expected by Western companies. So I think it's very good to adjust sometimes the services and products that you are providing. If it works in the West or in other countries, it doesn't mean that it should be the same in China. So if you see that there is a different reaction, you should change and try to improve, and to have a really close relationship with the one you're cooperating with in China, no matter if it's a business relation or an employee. And if possible, nowadays with COVID, it's of course very difficult, is to be yourself in China very often, or to have regular contact, or just to have a more distance in the kind of relationship you're choosing. So more like a balance in incentives for the party in China, and not based on employment, but maybe in commission base, or instead of a joint venture, have a distribution relationship. Yeah, examples like that.
Right. Yes, I've also read that the business environment in China is very, very fluid. People jump ship very, very fast, and like services, gets copied very, very easily, especially manufacturing even, but maybe a little bit harder. Yes, that's very interesting. I noticed that as well. Now that's
but okay, there's still copying, copying, it happens indeed. But of course, Western companies still have this extra in their products and the services that most Chinese companies have. Of course, if they're serving the Chinese consumers, it's a different story than becoming a worldwide brand. So there is still a lot of opportunity for Western companies, because the ends of the whole way that Western are behaving in terms of quality and service and reputation, and that is not something that you can easily copy.
Right.
Go into a 5-star hotel, you can immediately sense if it's a Western management or Chinese management.
Right.
And of course, this is I'm generalizing, because there's also in between, there's also a lot of Chinese managers who are Western educated or aware, but it's very rare. So
it's different. It's the whole like you say, the brand image. Like the first thing that came into my mind when you talk about this was, for example, Nike and Li Ning, the homegrown brand, right? It is still a big company, Li Ning, but the kind of brand image, the hype surrounding Nikes with for example, the Air Jordans and all the new shoes that came out, or the Adidas with the Yeezys, to recreate that culture, that maybe rap culture, which is something which is not so much in China. It's very difficult, right? So that's what I understand.
Yeah, or the position they choose in discussions about racism or sexuality or something. Yeah, to be ahead of, or to be in this trend in the right way, to hit the right tone. I think, yeah, that is something that, yeah. But of course, Chinese consumer have different kind of feelings. So this Western concept does not always work well in Chinese space.
Cool.
But then to become a worldwide brand, I think you have to hit the right tone with both. And that will be maybe interesting to see in the coming decades.
Yes, especially when, hopefully when China opens up a little bit more. Now let's change our topics a little bit, can we? I read I read Yuval Noah Harari, who wrote that the most significant challenge facing the human race is that of AI and biotechnology. So let's discuss AI. As he writes, AI will replace many jobs, and not just the blue collar jobs, but also the white collar jobs. For example, lawyers, judges, doctors, drivers, So, in your profession, what do you think of the impact AI could have on the legal professions in the years to come?
Yeah, legal professionals are maybe the most conservative professionals that are out there. So it will certainly happen. I think, lawyers among each other are already talking about it, acting very scared, like, oh, we're going to be replaced. And, of course, there's software already out there to make documents without the need of really a tailor-made approach. So, I think this industry can use some update in that respect. But I think also that we can very hard imagine that we will be replaced, because we see ourselves are actually also irreplaceable. So yeah, I think that's actually what lawyers think about themselves. I mean,
right. It's interesting because this question begs the what we have to do now for our next generation. For example, our children. Would it be something like, for example, now parents would be telling their kids, oh, you can be most parents want their kids to be lawyer, doctors, that kind of profession. But when the threat, is imminent, then people's perception may change, because obviously no human can process all the case laws like a computer does in 1 second, right? So that's almost not possible to compete in that way. Of course, there could be like, for example, what we watch on video, on TV. Oh, Your Honor, objection. But as he writes, this is just drama. it's not the real work. Architects. So it's something I think for parents to, and like you say, the profession to really think about, to also reinvent themselves as a provider of a service.
Yeah, as a parent, I really don't feel any need to steer my son into any direction. The future is totally unpredictable.
Yes.
And so you don't, I mean, when we were young, we did not know that you can become a YouTube star. So yeah, and even if you're a hairdresser, you can also become super successful.
Yeah.
And also, what is successful? So
what does that mean? Right.
Yeah, I really don't have the need that he will become anything. I just want him to be a balanced and happy person, and to develop his soft skills. I think that will be very important.
Choy, you know what we should do? Yeah, I know you're involved in some ladies, or was it female entrepreneurs group or something. We should hold an event to share this view with Asian parents, with Hong Kong parents, to that, it's completely different, right? Maybe attitudes are a little bit changing now.
Sorry, I don't count me in. I mean, I've been on the playground where people look at my kid like, what is this for a wild person? The contrast is too big, and they also feel that I'm alien. I don't feel comfortable. at all with my views on parenting and my views in general. I think, I think also that Western culture and Chinese culture, you have no idea how much the gap is. I am still, I grew up in a Chinese family. My mother is also since 8 years with me again. I'm still, and I lived in Asia for 15 years. I'm still every day surprised how much difference there is. And we compare all the time, but you cannot compare. It is like the writing, it's like completely different system. It's not like, oh, the West does this, so we do that, or China does that, so we do. No, nowadays we do, but when it was when it was invented, everything, healthcare, family, eating, how you call it, religion, everything is different. Relationships.
Sure. Interesting. I'll talk to you privately on that.
Yeah, so I'm not going to step in the arena and
I know. All right, let's talk about another big problem in the world now. This is in the media all the time, and that is ecological problem. Harari also wrote that it is the immediate problem facing humankind now. Global warming and climate change. So, and many governments and especially money funds expressing the opinion that their portfolio businesses must respond to this climate change. So, in your opinion, how should, businesses in general, big or small, respond to this climate change issue?
Let's start with individually. I cannot advise businesses, but it's also different because we are not producing a product, so we provide services. But me and my partners are very well aware of this environmental problem. And in my personal lifestyle, Harari actually is one of the reasons that inspired me to give up eating meat. Because it's not only better for the environment if I don't eat meat, but I also think that how we treat animals is completely outrageous. It makes me angry and I don't want to be part of it. And other than that, I'm trying to be minimalist and consume less. And also try to avoid one-time plastic and stuff like that. I think that the industry is responding way too slow on the changes that are needed. I think that everyone should be aware as of today, now, or yesterday even, from takeaway packages to consuming.
Exactly. And
I think what companies are doing if you go to a supermarket, 80% of the products that in there are completely unnecessary. It's not good for your health, not good for environment. So it's it's just a waste of everything, of energy, of resources. I think that everyone should drastically change their lifestyle. I also live in a very small apartment. It's with 3 people, so it's also I wouldn't say that I did it entirely for environmental reasons, but I really came to think over the years why we need so much stuff. And I also try to eat less. I only eat 2 meals a day, or a snack in between.
Same way.
I try to eat less. I try to buy less, try to use less, and reuse, and challenge myself to not buy any clothes for I did it for a year, and it made me very conscious about every purchase, if I really need it or not.
That's very good. That's very good. About a year and a half ago, I started to have 2 meals a day. I do snack like you in between, but I feel that like in the afternoon, the lethargy that comes from like a heavy lunch just goes away. Sometimes you do get a bit like hungry, but if you focus on work, like as in change your attention to something else, your mind doesn't concentrate on your stomach and you feel good. In fact, your whole body, I feel so much more energy by consuming less. For me. So, sorry, you were saying something.
No, I don't remember. Sorry. Because of the whole meal, because especially in Asian culture, eating is so important, and it's also a really big difference, by the way.
Huge difference. The first time I went to China to a dinner, Oh my gosh, that was, oh man, I
Even
don't
for
want to say
you
here.
with Asian backgrounds, but yeah.
I know, I'm shocked. I would use the word
Wow.
shocked, shocked.
Why? Because of
I don't know, maybe
the
in
kind of food?
no.
Oh.
Again, in private. But I grew up in a family where I was where thrift, maybe like you, and to save, and not to waste things, not
Oh.
just food, is part of life. I mean, I just grew up that way. And when I first went to China in 2003, whoa, it totally just took
The
me away.
abundance, you mean, and the waste and the show
abundance.
off. Yeah. But
Yeah.
it's not standard. I have Chinese colleagues who are very well aware of it, and they're not wasteful at all.
No. Yeah, well, yes, in the sense that, in the public events, there's this display of, opulence and
Status,
others,
reputation,
right?
yeah.
But when they go home, yeah, they eat just any simple
Oh
meal.
yeah,
I
but it's
understand
just
that.
on
It is,
these
which I felt that, yeah, that's why I'm a bit surprised. That, so anyway.
But it happens in Hong Kong too, I heard. Yeah.
Yeah. I suppose so.
Yeah. But we have a company culture that we are aware of it, and it's but yeah, but some people have it already by nature, that to be very mindful of this.
All right. Thank you very much. Of course, we cannot let you go without asking you about Toastmasters.
Oh.
Now, we both got to know each other from our club. We are members from Founders Toastmasters, a club for entrepreneurs, business people, and wannabe entrepreneurs and business people. So Toastmasters, for those of you who don't know, is an international nonprofit organization that empowers men and women around the world to be better communicators and leaders. Now, Choy, I want to ask you, while you just joined recently, which is good, I want to know from a point of view of someone who is like 6 months old versus me, 16 years in Toastmasters.
Unbelievable, yeah.
Unbelievable, exactly.
Yeah,
someone to stick around for so long, right?
And you're still so intensely, involved in it as well.
And none of us get paid.
Yeah.
So could you share with us why you joined and how your experiences so far has impacted you in your personal and professional life?
Yeah, Toastmasters, I actually heard about it already in the past years, and I knew it was related to public speaking, which is also something I was scared of.
Ooh, you certainly don't seem scared of public speaking.
Yeah, because I saw the joy in it, I think. And it is also because of, I was not a bad speaker in the Netherlands, but then moving to another country where I'm using English and different environment. And I was talking about subjects that I'm not educated in, made me feel a little bit aware of myself, I think. So, it still scared me kind of to join. So I didn't do it for years. And through a friend, Nerisse, she introduced me to you guys, and it's like perfectly fitting, founders or more experienced people in life, and also new club. So that's why, it was easier to attend a gathering, a meeting with you. And it was very impressive, the whole level, the quality, and the passion that people brought to a meeting, and also the feedback. So instead of, I was actually trying to avoid too much commitment, because it's too much, or I was scared of it. But it's so much fun, and I enjoyed so much that I am definitely a hardcore member now, I would say. Still sometimes behind with my homework, but and how it affected my personal life, it's really a nice discovery to see public speaking as something nice, instead of an obligation or something where you're failing in. I discovered that I really actually like thinking about how to organize my speech and what makes sense, and practicing on it, and actually doing it. And in the group, it feels so familiar and stimulating. It's a very nice, safe environment to practice. So it made me much more confident, for sure, in my from after joining. I learned a lot from it. I think it's even it's hard to describe. These things cannot be expressed in value, right? So these are the things I think matters in life more than having the right Gucci bag or car.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
For me, I totally agree with you. Confidence is, if anyone wants me to sum up what Toastmasters is, confidence, because that's what it gave me. And that's why I stuck around for like 16 years. Because really, in my 16 years, I've seen like people with no confidence become one of the best speakers, in the club, in the area, in the district. The transformation, right? The transformation, that willingness to learn, to overcome some of your mental obstacles, right? Like fear of public speaking is the second fear after death, right? And it's not just me. I've seen countless of members, whatever their age, young people who are eager, older people who are a bit slower, but consistently put in the work for their projects, and it's just so satisfying to me that to know that I have a role in helping some of these men and women to reach where they want to be, and that's why I stuck around.
Your contribution is amazing as well. And it definitely makes people want to join, and it's life-changing what you're doing. Right. That's why you're sticking around for 16 years.
Exactly. And by the way, our listeners, Choy is the winner of our international speech contest at the club level. She will be representing our club at the area contest. Let's wish her well. And also, to do a bit of advertisement before we go, I am giving a workshop called The Art of the Speaker, especially designed for our contestants, our winners, to up their game, to improve how they can, wow the audience with their speech in terms of speech crafting, delivery. We have been competing on Zoom, Zoom meetings. But when you stand in front of a huge stage, addressing 100 people, 1,000 people, it is completely different. What I call your stage presence. How do you project that stage presence onto that last person sitting at the corner behind, and to be equally absorbed in your speech? That is something Toastmasters meetings have not been able to do so for the last 2 years because of the pandemic. So do come. It's next Wednesday at 7 o'clock. The Zoom link, maybe been providing the link below. I'll work on that. So thank you very much for being here with us, Choy. It was indeed a pleasure to listen to your interesting views on various issues. And I hope that we could do another podcast sometime in the future. Thank you very much.
Where I will ask you all sorts of questions.
I'll love to be on your podcast.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you very much, Choy.
Yeah. Thank you so much too for having me. It was really fun.
All right. Thank you. Thank you.